I bleed tonight, if I am sad tonight, I don't have a job to find. And if I work tonight, if I'm so tired tonight, I'll fall asleep when I'm home. Just so far from here, focused on my own way, with never looking back to those who lived in fear. There was nothing I could do, there was nothing you said that could make me realize I'm a slave.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Wednesday night edition of Around the Ropes with John and Jeff. Obviously, you guys see Jeff is not here tonight. He's still on location. Don't know where he is right now, but hopefully he'll be back soon. Guys, if you've been a fan of the show for the last 4 years, you guys know we've had this list or this love of talking to every ring announcer that we can. Obviously, you guys know we've had on Rich Reed, Phil McManus, our very own Ryan Peterson, and so on and so forth. We're bringing somebody now who's with One Up Wrestling company that's really based in like the central New York area, almost as best I can describe it. And you guys, if you guys are a fan of One Up Wrestling, you know exactly who my guest is. Without further ado, introduce the show. First-time guest, the one and only AJ Stevens. AJ, welcome to the show. How you been, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
I appreciate that. It means a lot to have you on. Like I said, we've had this weird thing of having ring announcers on because I said this in a previous interview. I feel like ring announcers are the unsung heroes when it comes to pro wrestling because everybody always gives credit to the wrestlers for what they do. But I feel like if the ring announcer doesn't add emphasis for certain people, then I feel like it's almost like, and this could be a bad comparison, but you'll see where I'm going with this. It's like a Broadway play, almost, and the ring announcer is the director.
Yep.
You're kind of getting the ball rolling, and like I said, I give a lot of credit to a lot of the ring announcers, especially when you have that situation where you have like the tough names to announce, and you're not given enough time beforehand, and you have to hope that you don't butcher the name. So, like I said, I give you guys a lot of credit. Before we get into what's going on now with One Up and how you got it, what got you into pro wrestling? Was there a moment or a match?
I just remember watching wrestling with my father. We used to live in an apartment before we bought our house when I was a kid, and I remember eating Munster cheese with him. And we were doing the Bushwhackers walk around the apartment while the Bushwhackers would come to the ring. So like that's my first memories with wrestling. And obviously Hulk Hogan as a kid, Ultimate Warrior was my favorite though. It hooked me right from the start. I got away from it for a little while, but I got right back into it. Like I never left.
I feel like that's the story with 90% of the wrestling fans that you talk to. Yeah. That it's always, well, it was because of so-and-so, and then I left for a while. I know for me, for example, I was a fan until about 2002. And then I left I'll be honest, I left till about 2013 was when I came back. And I haven't looked since.
It's almost the same for me, yeah. And I remember, I think I was a freshman in high school. I got made fun of for wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt and just stopped watching right then and there. I was told I was gay because I liked it. I'm like, what? There's that stigma back in the late 90s, early 2000s,
I totally get it. For me, the thing with me was I had so many people who looked at me, they're like, that stuff is fake. That stuff is fake. And looking back on it now, I want somebody to say, you think the Avengers movies that make billions upon billions of dollars and that's real?
Exactly.
I'm like, unless you're going to watch documentaries your entire life, no movie's real. And I hate to break the news to people. But so growing up now, were you more WWE or WCW?
I was WWE all the way. I didn't start watching WCW until probably right around the time that the WWE Network came out. I found out that I could watch the old stuff, and I'm like, I'd really like to go back and see WCW stuff. So for a while, I would watch Monday Night Raw, then Nitro, then Monday Night Raw, then Nitro, just to kind of, and they would be side by side. I'd have the dates so that we could see what the competition was.
Yeah,
It got tedious when they got to SmackDown and Nitro, or not Nitro.
25 other
Thunder.
shows there.
Yeah,
But it's actually kind of interesting because a lot of times when I've asked that question, it's always been, well, because let me ask you this: have you lived, have you been in New York your entire life, or
born and raised in Oswego.
okay? So you know that New York is basically WWE,
Yeah,
country,
Yep.
almost to put it
exactly.
nicely.
Yeah, I went down south when I was younger. I went down to Myrtle Beach all the time. My grandparents had a house down there, and we would. I would play with the neighbor kids, and they were all WCW. Like, oh, let's go play, WCW Nitro versus, or was it NWO versus WCW? I'm like, oh, all right, yeah. I don't know these guys. I fell in love with Chris Jericho, though.
I mean, it's funny you bring up guys like Jericho because that's who I kind of got gravitated towards. Was guys like Jericho, guys like Undertaker, who had the ridiculously long entrances, but they were entertaining.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you became a fan. Was there a moment though that you sat there? You're like, okay, I want to go into this. I want to become a part of this.
Honestly, that came recently. A couple years, I think it was right around COVID. Everyone was bored. You're locked up in the house all day long. And a couple friends of mine started going to the Syracuse Institute of Pro Wrestling. And there's like, you should come out and do this. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I did it. Did it for like a month. And then I'm like, dude, I'm 35 years old. I'm too old for this shit. I kinked out my neck and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just going to figure out a way to be either backstage or do something else, not so physical.
Hey, I mean,
yeah, that's how it started. I ended up going to NYCW, doing ring crew, and became one of the cameramen, and it just grew from there. I met Mike Falvo through there. He's been a huge mentor for me in this ring announcing journey because I knew nothing about it. So he was the first person I reached out to. I also reached out to Sean Pye.
Okay, it's actually funny you mentioned Sean. Sean's gonna be a guest on the show this coming weekend.
I saw that. Yeah, that's awesome. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But you mentioned upstate, with the fact that you didn't really have any experience. I mean, we always go back. You always go back to the story. Diamond Dallas Page didn't start his pro wrestling career until I think he was 35 or 38, if I remember correctly from the story I heard. So,
yeah, my retort to that always is he was also in shape. I'm not in shape.
Hey, listen, but like I said before, though, you became a huge part of wrestling as a whole, becoming a ring announcer. So, obviously, One Up Wrestling gets started. I think, what have they been running for now?
About a year and a half.
Now, were you the original ring announcer for them? Like, have you been with them since the start?
Yep, I was there when we did Russell Hughes with Excite Wrestling.
Okay.
We got to do the second half of the show. We had like 3 matches, I think.
Okay.
It was right up at the fairgrounds. And yeah, that was our first show. And then we went on. Where were we next? I think we were at Sharky's next. That March or something like that.
It's funny. You're going to laugh. I live on Long Island.
Okay.
And I have made the trip. There was, you bring up Excite for a second. I made the trip up there when they were still in Johnsonstown and when they were doing show in the mall.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I had a friend of mine who, she also has become a sort of a ring announcer as well. And she works with Dynasty. And I went with her to the show. And I'd never been in that mall before. And I must have either been blind as a bat and I didn't realize what the hell I was walking. I was like, what? Because I figured the Excite show would have been like, in like the concourse area or something like, I didn't think of it being like in a store setting.
Yeah, it was in Bonton or something.
Yeah. And so I've done the drive up for that. I've done the drive up to that area multiple times. Yep. There was one time I remember, God, when I first started coming up there, and at that point we were working with Dynasty had come back, we had Immortal and UWE. There were times I was making the trip from Long Island to the upstate New York area 3 times a month. And it was, so I love, that's probably one of my favorite areas to watch pro wrestling.
I've been saying it's prime for wrestling, and I think One Up Wrestling is starting to do that now because we've kind of gotten into our groove with the shows, and I feel like we're starting to figure out what works and what doesn't with the crowds. And I mean, our last show was awesome with Gangrel.
Yeah, I saw that. That was Gangrel and Garrett Holiday, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, that was an epic match. I have a love-hate relationship with Garrett Holiday.
I'm going to behave on that one because I'll be honest, Garrett, I've had him on the show. There was actually a stretch like I said, we've been doing the show now for 4 years. There was a stretch, I think it was last year, where we had Garrett on before every Immortal show.
Oh, wow.
It became like a running gag. Like I said to him towards the end of the year, I'm like, you've been the guest we've had on the most since the show has been around.
That's awesome.
And just that's how I got introduced really to that whole area, was because of it's actually because of the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Okay, yep.
Because you mentioned whatchamacallit?
NYCW,
because they did that first show for the Hall of Fame when he who shall not be named was still running the company.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I was there for that show, and
I was there too. I was the ring. I was, what was I, head of media or something like that. So I was the cameraman for the whole night, and I remember I almost passed out. It was so freaking hot in there.
That was my first, and that was literally my first introduction to Upstate Wrestling, that show.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, you know what? I gotta come back up here more often.
Yeah, for sure. They had a lot of good matches. There was a lot of matches on that card, though.
Yeah. The two that I remember, and you're left, I still remember this, was the tag match with Bruno and John Tella versus Espados Unidos. I don't remember which guys from that group, but it was that match and the main event, which was, I can't actually remember this. It was Christina Marie versus
Adina Steele.
Because I remember saying it because we were doing this show at the time. I remember we came back on that following Tuesday. I said those two were the two best matches of the entire night.
Yeah.
And
I became a huge Christina Marie fan after that night. She was a stand-up person backstage. Like, she was polite to everybody, shook people's hands, and you could tell she's been around for a while and she knows what she's doing.
Now, there was one story that came out from that, and I'm not sure how true it is. So I want to ask you, obviously, you were there.
Okay.
Is it true you guys did not know the order of the matches till like 20 minutes before bell time?
That is true. Yep.
Okay. I heard that a couple of times. I was like, that can't be. And so it was that chaotic.
I got thrown into the mix. There's like, hey, help us put these match cards together. I had never done a match card before. I'd hung around Patches, but like I never saw him put a card together or anything like that. So I was just throwing things out there, like, all right, give them this amount of time, and then I guess Patches got his hands onto it and he goes, "Really? You're gonna give them 20 minutes?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know what I'm doing."
Yeah, but like I said, that was my first introduction, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah.
And so now, let's go back to, with One Up Wrestling. Obviously, One Up Wrestling gets started. Mm-hmm. Was it you reached out to them, or they reached out to you? How did that start?
It was a little both. I reached out to them when I heard they were rumoring to start and they were going to make some announcements. And I said, "Hey, listen, I got experience as ring crew, and I can do camera work too." And they said, "Well, we're really looking for a ring announcer. Can you talk on the mic?" I go, "Yeah, I can talk on the mic." And they said, "Do you have a suit?" I go, "Yeah, I got a suit." And they're like, And then pretty much it was mine at that point. So I wasn't looking for the ring announcer. It found me. So
now let me ask you this though. Obviously, when you got told, you were doing the ring announcing stuff, did you go back through the network and watch like old stuff of like Howard Finkel? Like, who became your inspiration?
Howard Finkel's huge, but actually the first thing I did was I reached out to Mike Falvo.
Okay.
He's got a lot of experience. I've seen him work at NYCW, and I'm like, you know what? He's the person that I need to reach out to first. So, between him and Sean Pye, I reached out to both of those guys. Got a little bit of advice. And they told me, you need anything, reach out. So, and then I dove into WCW and WWE, just anything I could find. I even look at Buffer from UFC.
Oh wow, okay.
I think he's an incredible announcer. I love his energy. I love how he fighting. I don't know. It draws you in, and so I try to bring that out in One Up as well. We get to the main event. I throw the card up and everything. Like I just try to sell completely.
Believe me, I've been to enough independent shows in the last 4 years, and I've done, like I said, I've been to shows everywhere from upstate New York to Massachusetts to Philly to Jersey. So I've seen my fair share. I've seen ring announcers who basically walk in there and who will sit there and go, okay, your next match is so and so, like it looks like they're right off the card. Or I see sometimes where, like, I'm not saying they become a character because I don't like to use that, but they become their own person. I've seen that also plenty of times.
Mm-hmm. I'm still finding my person.
You'll find it. I have faith in that.
Yep. I keep working at it. I'll find it.
But, hey, I look this way. You've only been doing this now really for, what, a year now? A year and a half?
Yeah, year and a half, yep.
I mean, there are people who are in the top of the top who I feel like have been doing this for 10 years and are still trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to. But now let me ask you this, though. If you have somebody who's ever been to a one-up wrestling show and is watching this and they're like, well, I want to, go see it, what would you say as far as, like, why should somebody come see One Up?
I mean, we have a lot of talent on these cards. I mean, you got Black and Yellow, the tag champions. They just, I don't know, the crowd just eats them up. The energy level, I love it when they're a headliner because the energy level just ramps up, and then I can feed in off of it as well. So, I mean, we've had top talent guys like, Tommy Dreamer and Robbie Lawler. We've had those guys in there, and incredible guys to work with. Learned a lot too. But no, the talent, we're always trying to bring our best to these shows, and I'm really seeing it come through now.
And I know quite a few people you have because I've seen them wrestle for other companies in upstate New York area. Because, like we mentioned before, one of them is Garrett Holiday.
Yeah,
he's a big part of One Up. But there's a lot of guys. If I remember correctly, Trevor Terry.
Oh yeah, he's in Japan right now.
Yes, I heard he's in Japan.
Yeah,
but it's
that's awesome for him too.
That's like one place where it's like, I've been to Philly before, obviously the 2300 Arena. To me, it's like, that's the top of my list. I'm like, nah. Top of my list is if I ever get a chance to go to Japan, but I'm not a wrestler, so I don't think that dream's ever going to happen.
Right.
But hey, one thing I've learned with pro wrestling, being a fan of this crazy sport, never say never.
No, never.
And that's the way I've always looked at it. And now, how often does One Up run though? Because I know there's some companies that run like a lot, and then there's some that run like maybe once every couple of months.
We usually do once a month. I think we're doing things a little bit differently this year. Last year was every month we were doing one, and this year I think they're changing up the strategy because they don't want to kill the town. So I think our next one's actually August. Hold on a second, I got it right in front of me here. August 9th at Solvay. So we're taking this month off, but I think it's to ramp up for this next show, and it's free, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, well, I definitely want to look at that card in a second. But I think also what I think the thing also is when you look at upstate New York, obviously you have the Buffalo area, you have the Rochester area, but I also consider that like I don't put that in the same category as like an Albany or a Troy or that. I look at it's almost like two different countries, two different areas. It's probably the best way to put it. I think the thing is, and I think this is where you guys are still trying to get your feet wet almost, is upstate New York has pretty much been either Immortal or Dynasty.
Right.
It's very tough to sort of become, Go back to WWE and WCW.
Yep.
We were talking about the third company, ECW.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's kind of what you guys, and I'm not saying it to be mean.
No,
I'm
no,
not
no, I get it.
that to down. I'm it's like it's almost like you have the two powerhouses here, and I think you guys will get up there eventually,
Right.
especially with the names you just mentioned of who you guys have had in. But I think the thing is, because that area has been so ingrained with, well, we have Immortal, well, we have Dynasty. It's like, how do you break through that? Be like, well, by the way, guys, here's a new company. You know,
Yeah.
people are so used to it. I see it in Jersey a lot. Sorry, I see it in Jersey a lot where people are so fixated on one company and they're like, I don't want to give this other company a chance. Even though they may be providing a phenomenal product like you guys do, they're so fixated on, well, I'm loyal to Immortal. I'm loyal to this company. And I'm of the mentality, because you see a lot, obviously, with the wrestlers, but I see a lot with the fans. It's the term tribalism. It's, well, I'm a fan of this company. I can't be a fan. It's like, why? I never will understand the tribalism when it comes to fans.
Either will I. It makes no sense to me. And the hardest thing, I think, is the fact that you named Dynasty and Immortal. Well, most of the guys that wrestle for One Up wrestle with Immortal. So I think that actually helps a little bit because it brings those fans to here. And it's almost like we're bringing back the territories a little bit. So you got the CNY crew, the One Up Wrestling, and then you got Immortal, which is more what are they, Whitestown,
Johnstown.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. And Dynasty down in Albany area. So it's kind of like west, east, and north.
But I mean, I also look at it this way, because there's only three companies. There's you guys, there's Immortal, and there's Dynasty. There's a big difference. Like, for example, you come down to Jersey. The second you go to Jersey, there's 25 companies within a 2-mile radius.
Yeah.
And you see it so many times, especially in Jersey, where you have 5 companies that are booked, and you have one talent who's on. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people get double booked. And that's why, coming to upstate, it's such a different feeling because it's not so, like, the term that they use for Jersey, and I've heard this, and I'm not making this up, the term I've heard that they've used for Jersey is they feel like a lot of it has become very almost forced, if that makes sense, like almost too much. Where in upstate, it's, okay, well, you have Immortal. Okay, you have Dynasty. You have One Up. But then you also look at the fan bases. You have people who are fans of Immortal who won't go to Dynasty. You have fans of Dynasty who won't. And it's like, the shows are still going to run. And I feel like people don't get this part. Right. The shows are still going to run whether or not you go or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And all you're doing is you're supporting indie wrestling. I said this on the show, AJ, for the last 4 years, especially since I started to really get into indie wrestling. I've been very loud, let me put it this way, when it comes to indie wrestling, because I always make the comment of, I'd rather spend $25 on a ticket, know that I'm getting a good product, get a chance to meet the wrestlers after, get a chance to do all that stuff, whereas I can go to like WWE or an AEW, spend $100, be lucky if I meet a wrestler, and if I do meet a wrestler, it's oh, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
And that's always been, so, if you're watching this now, or you're watching this later, or you're listening to the replay, that, you guys know I've been saying this for the last 4 years now. Go support indie wrestling. Because you may see somebody at One Up, you may see somebody at Dynasty, or Immortal, or Bray, or whatever company you follow, that all of a sudden, in a couple of weeks, could be on AEW, could be on WWE. Especially
great example.
Go ahead.
A great example is he's actually down in Florida right now training in the Heart Dungeon. Shane Stetson.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
That kid, he's got something. He's got that charisma, man. I've got to work with him quite a few times with One Up, and the crowd hates him and they love him at the same time.
It's actually funny you bring up Shane because we had him on. Him and I sort of have a interesting friendship. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Because there is another wrestler. I think he wrestles more in like Connecticut. I think named Steven Stenson.
Okay.
And one of the first times I started covering Immortal, it was I don't remember which show it was. And we were going over the card because we had Mike King. Okay, now I remember this. We had Mike King on, owner of Immortal. Had him on, talking about the card, and we got to Shane's match. And for some reason, I forgot Shane, but I remembered Steven. Don't ask me why. I called him Steven Stenson. And ever since then, every time I saw him, he always looked at me and goes, "You schmuck."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hi, Shane. How you doing?"
Yeah. Right.
People look at me like "You're going to take that?" I go, "If you know the story, you know the story."
Yeah. Exactly.
But that's the thing, is you're not going to get that if with a WWE superstar or an AEW superstar.
No. Nope.
You're not going to get that type of acknowledgement. They're going to look at you and go, "Okay, you're a fan. Okay, congratulations." That's the best way. That's probably the only way I can put it. But I want to fast forward now because you said before you guys have a show coming up in August.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the card, or I don't know if the match?
I haven't seen it. It hasn't been announced yet.
Okay.
They usually they announce the show and then like a week later they start dropping card. Like
Gotcha.
They'll start doing some of the matches that'll be there.
Well, I'm going to ask you this though now.
Yeah.
And since you've been with One Up, is there a match that you can remember that you sit there now and kind of pinch yourself like, I can't believe I got to announce this person?
I mean, if we're talking like get to announce someone who has been, to the show, so to speak,
Yeah.
like either Tommy Dreamer or Gangrel. But getting to introduce Mike Skyros is always cool because the crowd loves him. Again, just like Black and Yellow, the crowd eats him up, and it just gives me something to feed off of. So
it's funny you bring up Mike Skyros. He'll be a guest on our show this coming Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
So we're definitely gonna, like I said, it's right. Half the names you mentioned, I'm like, yep, we're gonna have them on this day. We're gonna have them on this day. But no, I mean, but like, let me ask you this: is there? Like, I think you mentioned for Gangrel and Tommy Dreamer, but is there a match though? Like, going back to the Gangrel holiday match, is that one that would stand out to you? That it's like you got to call a match of almost two generations colliding, almost.
Yeah. If you ask me what match I look back on and say, "Holy crap, I got to announce that," it might be the Fulton Street Fight that we had that actually got the Fulton Street Fight banned.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
That's interesting when a match gets banned. But,
Yeah. It got a little brutal.
But isn't that good though when it gets that brutal?
Yeah, to an extent, and that didn't exceed that extent to me. Yeah, I'm not a fan of thumbtack stuff. We didn't do that, but it just there's too much in my opinion. Thumbtacks I don't like just because they stick in you, and then I always feel bad for the ref. It has to count in the thumbtacks. But
The one I like is when and a lot of companies are doing this now, Legos.
yeah,
As a-
no, that's pretty cool actually. That I would like that rather than have the thumbtacks for sure.
I sit there and I remember there was one show, I don't remember what show it was that I was at, and they all of a sudden had a weapon. And it was in the same setup like the tacks, and they go to dump it out, and it was Legos. I'm sitting there going, that's gonna hurt even more.
Right?
And I mean, one thing I've always said on the show is I give these wrestlers a lot of credit. Guys like Skyros, Black and Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
I know people always be commenting, "Oh, pro wrestling's fake. It's predetermined." Yes, it is. I will agree on that 100%. But when these guys go in the ring, even guys like like I mentioned before, they're not going in there and dancing. It's not ballet. We all know the old, pro wrestling ain't ballet, and it's true. You put these guys in there and tell them, okay, you guys have to get this crowd going. Within 5 minutes, half of them will definitely understand that.
Yeah.
But now let me ask you. I got a couple more questions, for you before we wrap things up for tonight.
Yeah, no worries.
Who would be a superstar that you would love to potentially introduce?
Ooh. I mean, I might have to go with who I think is the greatest wrestler of all time. That would be Shawn Michaels. I think introducing him would be amazing.
Hey, like I said, never say never. It's something that, and that's especially now with the day and age we live in. Especially like you have WWE working with TNA. They just bought AAA. AEW is doing what they're doing with CMLL and New Japan. And how many times do we see, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's like, oh crap, I remember seeing them at, One Up a month ago, and now they're on AEW.
Yeah.
So you never, as I've learned, never say never. Now, if you can pick, what would be your dream venue to announce in?
Oh, Madison Square Garden, hands down. And the history there, I would bat an eye thinking, oh crap, I'm going to be at Madison Square Garden. But deep down inside, I'd be giddy as a schoolboy.
And then one more I got for you. I know I said before about, who would you like to potentially introduce? You're given the opportunity for one dream match, and you're told, okay, you're going to be the ring announcer, but here's the stipulation now that I'm going to put in for this. It can be anybody from any promotion, any era. Who are you picking?
Ooh. That one's definitely a tough one. I think I would like to do like a War Games match, and it'd be D-Generation X, X-Pac, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, China, and Triple H. If I had to put them against somebody, it might be the Four Horsemen.
Oh, that one, I never even thought of that one. That would actually be. Well, now are we talking original Four Horsemen?
I mean, we can pick any of them. The one that no one likes to talk about: Chris Benoit, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. I'd probably put Dean Malenko in there too. Yeah.
I'll because I always like to answer my own questions on this. If it was me, I like the DX one, but I would go a step further. DX was primetime NWO.
Yeah, you could do that.
And
who would X-Pac go with?
So that's gonna be the tough part.
Yeah, that's gonna be the swerve.
Yeah, and no, I got it. That would be the match, but X-Pac is banned.
Yeah.
No, I got it.
Fired from both companies, I guess. No,
I got it. X-Pac is the ref.
Ooh. Yeah, that'd be like the whole Shawn Michaels DX Tyson thing with Austin. Yeah, I could see that.
But like the thing is, though, with NWO for that one, it's like, okay, well, you have 800 people you can pick from NWO.
Yeah.
That could be a whole thing in itself. Who do you pick from that? But AJ, actually, before we wrap things up here, again, when is the next show for One Up, and how can fans get tickets, for it?
Well, the good news is this one's free. So Saturday, August 9th, we're going to be at Solvay Slam. We'll be at the Solvay Geddes Field Days. That's in Woods Road Park in Solvay. Shows from 3 to 5, free admission, and you just show up and show out.
Absolutely. And one of these days when I get everything fixed with me, I definitely want to try to make my way up for a One Up show at some point.
Yeah, you come up, let me know, and I'll meet you up there.
Absolutely. I would say if I'm coming up to a One Up show, it won't be tough to find you. It won't be, difficult to find you.
Yeah, usually the one with the mic.
Yeah, but like I said, though, it was a blast having you on because, like I said, we've had on basically, I feel like every ring announcer.
I'm honored to be here. Honestly, I mean, to follow in the footsteps of Mike Falvo, and you said you've had all these other guys on that I work with now. It's like, yeah, this is cool.
Oh no, absolutely, and I'm glad you had fun. I had a blast. Where can before we let you go, before we finish up here, where can fans connect with you, and where can fans connect with One Up Wrestling for all updates.
On all the socials, One Up Wrestling. And then for me personally, I'm AJ Stevens on Facebook. I don't remember my Instagram handle. I think it's like Big Papa 85 something. But yeah, I'm also on TikTok, Big Papa 85. Big Papa 8504 or something like that.
Just search, you'll find it. But guys, definitely go check out One Up Wrestling. If you guys have been a fan of this show, you guys know I try to promote indie wrestling as much as I can. I try to give indie wrestling the platform. But guys, we have a lot more interviews coming up for you guys, including, obviously, AJ mentioned his name before. We got Sean Pye. I keep calling him Sean Jacobs, but everybody knows him as Pye. So
Right.
We have Joe Bellini coming up from Warriors of Wrestling next week. We also have Mike King coming up next week. We also have Miss Kristen DeVille as well, commentator from Immortal. So, believe me, the interviews are keep coming. Guys, again, follow One Up Wrestling. Hopefully we'll have a lot more people on from One Up. And like I said, guys, go subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on Facebook. And if you missed tonight's interview or any of the past interviews we've done, or any of the future interviews we're going to do, you can find it at Apple, Spotify, iHeart. We are on Odyssey also. Just go search Around the Ropes with John and Jeff. You'll find us in one way, shape, or form. But AJ, again, I'm so glad we're able to have you on. And the door's open for you whenever you like to come back on in the future.
Thank you. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Guys, for AJ Stevens, I'm John. It's been Around the Ropes with John and Jeff. Catch you guys next time.